Hello and welcome to Gaming is Therapy. Today I'm bringing you episode number 85 of our Fantasy EFL football, and it's time to talk about the Max Chip and League One. So what am I going to do? We're going to have a look at the league table, have a look at the form, have a look at the fixtures, talk about some of the teams to potentially pick, potentially avoid, and run through a few players as good options for the game week. So let's crack on. So the league table looks phenomenal. Birmingham have been amazing all season, but that table is really, really tight. Wrexham and Wycombe are battling it out for automatic. That's going to be a mental finish. Stockport, Charlton, pretty much safe, barring a massive collapse and teams absolutely cracking it perfectly. One of them's going to make it, and let's be honest, I don't see them having a collapse either. You've then got Reading in 6th position with 69 points, and they're holding off a charge from Leyton Orient and Bolton Wanderers. Potentially, you could even throw in Huddersfield in 9th. I mean, that would be a miracle if they managed to get in there. But there's some really interesting fixtures to go along with that, and the form is a little bit up and down. So, of course, Birmingham City, their form is phenomenal. They've managed to pick up 2.67 points over the last 6 games, which is phenomenal. They beat Peterborough 2-1. They decimated Barnsley 6-2. They beat Bristol Rovers 2-1. And they beat Shrewsbury 4-1. The Bristol Rovers and Shrewsbury games, honestly, really tricky games. Bristol Rovers are still in there fighting. Shrewsbury at the time, you could say, but they are in there fighting. So to dig out those results is just phenomenal. But I don't think it comes to great surprise when they have been the best team in the division all season. Next up, we're going to talk about Stockport. Stockport, obviously 4th, 77 points. A little bit like Sunderland, I suppose. No man's land. But they're doing so well. I'm not going to say they're doing amazingly, but they're doing really, really well. They're averaging 2.5 points per game, which is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They've found some good form at a crucial time to sort of, don't want to say it, but I am going to say it, sort of guarantee their place in the playoffs. In the last four games they've won. They beat Burton Albion, they beat Stevenage, they beat Exeter, and they beat Rotherham. So it's put them in such a strong position. We'll now move on to Wrexham. Again, Wrexham are doing just enough. 1 point ahead of Wycombe. They're averaging 2.33 points per game as well. And they're doing just enough as well. They're not losing. Last time they lost was March the 11th. That was 2-0 to Reading. They then beat Wycombe Wanderers 1-0. That was a massive victory. That was a massive victory. They beat Stockport 1-0. That was a massive victory. They then beat Exeter. They drew at Cambridge. They beat Burton, and they drew 0-0 with Wigan, which I was surprised about, to be honest. I expected them to win that. Yeah, they just couldn't get it over the line. But they're in really good form. And they've got some interesting games coming up as well. They've got Bristol Rovers, so you expect them to win that. That is at home, and then they're away to Blackpool. Blackpool not really playing for anything. Wrexham still are, so I expect them to go massive in that game. They really need to win both games, or not lose both games. But I expect them to beat Bristol Rovers, and I expect them to beat Blackpool. We'll then go on to Stevenage. Now, Stevenage are in no man's land, like literally 14th, nothing to play for, and their form represents that at the moment. 0.67 points per game. They're one of the worst performers in the league, obviously. You then got Shrewsbury, again, one of the worst performers in the league, averaging 0.33 points per game. And then, of course, you've got poor Bristol Rovers. 0 points they've earned in the last 6. And ironically, some of the games, results would say they've been close. I didn't watch any of them, so I can't actually say. Apart from Lincoln, that was back in March. Lincoln battered them 5-0. They then lost 1-0 to Crawley, 2-1 to Mansfield, 2-1 to Birmingham, 1-0 to Bolton, 2-1 to Exeter. Not high scoring, but they're just losing out by a goal. You think to yourself, they've got Wrexham coming up, which could be an interesting one. They're still able to get out of the bottom 4. They beat Wrexham. My God, that would be mental. Absolutely mental. And I think their second game is Stevenage at home. Again, that's Stevenage aren't playing for anything. Bristol Rovers are. That could be a massive, massive game. So let's talk about teams. Teams out of this division. Look, I would say Wrexham. I've actually used them. So I've reached my limit with Wrexham, I've reached my limit with Wycombe, and I think the other team was Burnley. So I've used them all 5 times. So I went with Stockport and Birmingham. I know Birmingham are champions. I know they're a country mile ahead. I expect them to rest a couple of players, but I don't think they'll be doing anything silly. And they've got 2 extremely good fixtures, at home to Crawley, away to Burton. So for me, I think Birmingham as a pick is a good one. And then we've got Stockport. Again, I really like their fixtures. They're in good form. They've won their last 4. They've got Peterborough away, and they've got got, I think, Huddersfield at home. It is Huddersfield at home. So I think from a team point of view, those two clubs are perfect. Obviously, I would throw Wrexham in there as a third choice, but I didn't, as I said, because I don't have them. But they're at home to Bristol Rovers, extremely winnable, and they're away to Blackpool, extremely winnable. And I think those are the two games that they'll win. Wycombe will slip up and they'll get the automatic. From a player perspective, again, I'm going to be naming the familiar names, but players I think you should really be keeping an eye out for are, you've got to go Allsop, Birmingham goalkeeper, Tickle at Wigan, another very good goalkeeper. You've also got Pereira at Reading, Cooper at Stevenage, and is it Joe Whitworth at Exeter. And again, they've got two really good games, home and away, Burton and Crawley. Actually, they might not be a bad shout for a pick. But no, Birmingham, Stockport, that's the sort of keepers I'd be looking at. Obviously, I'll probably name more defenders because I play three at the back. So you've got to be looking at Gillespie, O'Connell, Casey, Cleworth, Kerr, Jones. So break that down. So Gillespie at Charlton, phenomenal defender. We've got O'Connell at Wrexham. Casey's one I quite like at Blackpool. He had a really good performance, some really good performances, I should say, in the last few weeks. And it started at Northampton, he got 14 points. Then Bolton, he got 10. He got 18 against Reading. I think that's where he scored as well. But he gets a lot of clearances, he gets blocks, he gets tackles. He's a really, really good player. I really quite like him. He's one to chuck in there because I think they've got two really good games, Stevenage and of course Wrexham. So from a clearance perspective, blocks and tackles, the Wrexham one could be massive. I mean, what was the last game they played? Rotherham. I think they lost 2-1 in Rotherham. But he got 16 clearances. So I think he's a solid pick. Something different. Midfielders. This is a nightmare. This is why I only like having two. I mean, Wingy, Reading, phenomenal player. Really like him. He's worth a look at. And again, Reading's fixtures as well. They're quite nice. They've got Lincoln and Mansfield. One of my favourites, you've got Kayla Dunn. They've got Leyton Orient and Peterborough. We've got Morgan at Blackpool as well, who's a good pick. You've got Morley at Bolton, or is he injured? I'm trying to think if he's injured. I might be thinking of a different player. Brain just went in a different tangent. Ed Francis, Exeter, quality little player, differential if you're looking at it that way. I know it's not a major differential, but a lot of people probably don't use him. You've got Pokey down at Peterborough. I know he's just back from injury, but what a quality player. I'd like to have known how many points he would have got, continuing the form that he had before he got injured. Such a good little player, really is. Norwood at Stockport County. Two really good fixtures. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't get a lot of goals. Doesn't get a lot of assists, but he gets a lot of interceptions, good key passes, and the odd shot on target. Yeah, very low on the shots, but like interceptions and key passes is a reason to be having a look at him. And then up top, it's going to be the normal names that we all go through. So you've got Kelman at Orient, phenomenal form at the moment. I can't imagine him not being in my game week 37 team purely because of the fixtures they've got. Barnsley at home and Cambridge away. Yeah, I really can't imagine him not being in my team, to be honest. He's such a phenomenal player. 42 games, 19 goals, 7 assists. No hat-trick so far. Hopefully this is the week he gets a hat-trick. 48 shots on target, 22 key passes is really quite impressive. And then, he's in such good form at this moment in time. You obviously got Sam Smith at Wrexham. I think it'd be a risk to pick a May or a Stansfield just because I don't know what Birmingham are truly going to do. Will they give them limited minutes? It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be an interesting one. You got Fletcher at Blackpool. I would say Will Evans at Mansfield, but I'm sure he's injured. Is he injured? I want to say he's injured. I don't think he played in the last game. Doesn't necessarily mean he's injured, but yeah, he didn't play in the last game. But they've got some good fixtures. They've got Rotherham. They've got a tough one though against Reading. Then Dale Taylor, even at Wigan. I mean, they've got good fixtures. They've got Shrewsbury. They've got Rotherham. Gets shots on target. He's good with the key passes. He's got 16 goal assists in his 38 games. He has the capability of getting you some points for sure. I'm not going to say he's going to get you 50 points, but he does have the capability of getting you points. And again, it's looking at the fixtures as well as the player. So that's literally some players, some clubs I would look at for using your max chip. Hopefully that's helped you. We will leave it there. And as always, I will catch you later.